It's been an incredible year we've had. A lot of news has come to light. We have had over 40 UFC events throughout the entirety of 2022. And here we are, closing out the year in style. A lot of lessons learned and a lot of opportunities that were capitalized on. Also, a few opportunities that we missed out on. But we are excited to be here. And thank you for tuning in today. So, the first event that took place in 2022, we had Calvin Kattar taking on Giga Chikadze. And a spot that we highlighted in that bout on that card was Jake Collier as he dismantled Chase Sherman. We also hit Fight Doesn't Go the Distance at a plus number at plus 120. And throughout the course of the year, we had some sustained success. Ended the year plus 33.5 units with a 10% ROI. And the arrow continues to be pointed up. Thank goodness, year after year, we've had sustained success. And we'll be looking to add on to that in 2023. So now we are over 100 units in profit. And we are looking forward to capitalizing on numerous spots in the near future. We're looking through 2022 right now. I'm scrolling through the betmma.tips profile of myself, and I am zeroing in on a few spots throughout the year. So we have Sean Strickland disposing of Jack Hermanson. It was we hit Strickland at minus 188, which was a solid spot there. Let's see what we have here. Jared Cannonier over Derek Brunson. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Jonathan Martinez over Alejandro Perez. Bryce Mitchell over Edson Barbosa. I see a spot here where we probably could have cashed a ticket depending on the referee who was in charge of the bout. Renato Moicano versus Rafael Dos Anjos. That Fight Doesn't Go the Distance prop we locked in at minus 125, and that was a close call there. Magomed Ankalaev beating Thiago Santos. By the way, how about Magomed Ankalaev taking on Jan Blachowicz in the final event of the year where, goodness gracious, we saw a draw, which did not make much sense. I believe that actually there was one other event that took place prior to the end of the year, but that was one of the closest events nearing the end of 2022. Magomed Ankalaev should have the light heavyweight strap wrapped around his waist. Yet, in the near future, we have Jamal Hill taking on Glover Teixeira. A little concerned about that matchup. A very volatile matchup. I believe that fight will not go the distance, but let's see what type of props we get, what type of odds we get. There are a number of fights on that Brazil card that I'm looking forward to, namely Jessica Andrade fighting in that on that card. Let's continue this stroll through memory lane in 2022. Arnold Allen beating Dan Hooker. That was one of my better spots here, where we had Arnold Allen at plus 110 taking on Daniel Hooker, who was looking to drop some weight and did not come through in that much matchup, but we were on Arnold Allen in that spot. Let's see. We had the Nikita Krylov Paul Craig fight doesn't go the distance, parlayed with Jai Herbert and Ilya Topuria fight doesn't go the distance. That minus 114. Brian Barberena disposing of Matt Brown at minus 105. That was a controversial decision. Matthias Nicolau beating David Dvorak. We had Nicolau locked in at plus 118. By the way, one thing I have to mention here on the betmma.tips profile, the men's flyweight matchups, we have been succeeding at over an 80% clip, plus 35% ROI at that weight class, the men's flyweight weight class. So something I'm proud of. It's something that has been going on for years. So I'll continue to look to tap into that. The only thing that that's on my radar is that we don't have many men's 125-pound matchups booked, but we will have one on that Brazil card. Let's see. Let's continue up and down this 2022 look back, lessons learned. By the way, lessons learned. We have one lesson we learned was that the women's mixed martial arts, low-level women's mixed martial arts, there is high level of volatility when it comes to low-level women's mixed martial arts, and it is something you should take a look at before backing certain fighters. Make sure that you are doing your due diligence. We've seen up and down cards year after year, low level women's MMA. The tape can lie. We've seen the tape lie many, many times. It continues to do so. Dramatic improvements, fight card after fight card, camp after camp. Be wary of low-level women's MMA, especially when you're putting your hard-earned money in certain spots. Let's continue our way through 2022, where we had Amanda Lemos versus Jessica Andrade. Fight doesn't go the distance. We hit that at minus 190. Jessica Andrade beating Amanda Lemos. Marc-Andre Barriault beating Jordan Wright. Let's see. I was on Joe Anderson. I was on Andre Fili versus Joe Anderson Brito. We lost that one. Marlon Vera defeating Rob Font at plus money. Let's see. One of the largest plays of the entire year in 2022, I believe this may have been my only 5-unit play in the entire year, was Brandon Royval versus Matt Schnell. Capitalized on the men's flyweight division. Brandon Royval, we hit at minus 225, minus 240, minus 250. That was a 5-unit play. Schnell had his moment there, but that was a fight that Royval simply was going to find a way to win. And he did so in dramatic fashion. Grateful for that. Let's see. Actually, that UFC 274 card was a card where only 2 times in the entirety of 2022 did I lay more than 10 units. And one of them was the UFC 274 card where we swept the board. Randy Brown defeating Chaos Williams. Lubita Gomez defeating Ariane Carnelossi. We also hit the under 2.5 on the Charles Oliveira Justin Gaethje fight, as well as fight doesn't go the distance. And we also hit Andre Fiallo versus Cameron Van Camp. Moral of the story here on many fronts is that a fight is not over until it is over, my brothers. So if that fight is scheduled for 15 minutes, then we must understand that fighters have 15 minutes to accomplish their goal. And as we've seen with Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards, that was a spot where it ain't over till it's over, as our good friend Yogi Berra once said. So just take that into consideration when you are capping these fights. By the way, when we talk about capping these fights, a few other things I must mention are that now we have to be concerned about a couple of extra loopholes. One of them being these judges that we have experienced in 2022. There have been some very suspect judging decisions that have been handed down. Dustin Jacoby, he was involved in a fight earlier this year that was concerning for many folks. The Magomed Ankalaev fight, there have been others. So just be aware that you must overcome some adversity, even at the betting window, to cash these tickets. So if you want to take one thing out of the equation, you may want to look at fights that end inside the distance. If there is a if there's a fighter who has a propensity to engage in violent affairs and looks to finish fights, has a killer instinct, you may want to throw some money on that fighter and have a little bit more confidence knowing that the fight may not end up heading to the scorecards. Weili Zhang defeating Joanna Champion. That was a fight where we saw some of the community proclaim that that was a coin flip matchup. That was not a coin flip matchup, my brothers. Weili Zhang disposed of Joanna, former champion, in dramatic fashion. One of my favorite fights on the card. And then we had Weili Zhang also disposing of Carla Esparza. That was a fight that we saw Weili Zhang beat Carla Esparza at her own game. Very impressive. Let's continue our journey, my brothers. Damir Ismagulov versus Guram Kutaladze. We were on Damir Ismagulov in that spot. By the way, our execution here is 61% of the bets placed end up cashing. So grateful for that. Looking to continue to have success in 2023, though I realize there are no certainties in this game, and we must be honest with ourselves. Mario Bautista defeating Brian Kelleher. Look at that line, minus 165. Interesting. I wonder if that fight was, if we saw another iteration of that bout between Mario Bautista and Brian Kelleher, where would that end up? Where would we line that, my brothers? Good question. Then Alex Volkanovski, who's been a money train for us throughout the years. You look up and down my Bet MMA profile. I've been on Volkanovski many, many times. Defeating Max Holloway on July 2nd. We hit Volkanovski at minus 180 multiple times. But Volkanovski has a tough hill to climb here and against Islam Makhachev. Then we also, in the next card, hit on Said Nurmagomedov against Douglas Silva de Andrade, the ageless wonder. We took a loss on Tresean Gore against Cody Brundage. That was an interesting spot. Now Cody Brundage, we saw taking a loss to Lord Michael, and Tresean Gore has found his winning ways. Then we continue our journey where we head to UFC Long Island. I was at that event, phenomenal event, where we were on Shane Burgos taking on Charles Jourdain. Charles Jourdain has struggled with a lack of a ground game throughout the entirety of his career, and it continued in the fight against Shane Burgos. We were also on Bill Algeo against Herbert Burns. We were on Matt Schnell and Sue Mudarji. Fight doesn't go the distance at minus 158. That was a great fight. I love that fight. The ebb and flow of that fight was incredible. I was sitting next to family of Sue Mudarji, and let's just say they were in tears at the end of that bout, and he fought his ass off. Both fighters came to fight. Enjoyed that one. Then you look at about where I was dead wrong, where the tape lied to us, my brothers. Mason Jones against Ludovic Klein. Went heavy on Mason Jones in mid-July of 2022. Took a loss in that spot, one that hurt. I still remember watching the event on the phone at my son's travel baseball game, and oh goodness gracious, that one hurt. Then we also had on that card, let's see, we had Jack Hermanson defeating Chris Curtis. We hit Jack Hermanson at plus money there. Then at UFC 277, we were on Brandon Moreno against Kai Kara France. We hit Brandon Moreno at a bunch of different numbers, minus 190, minus 200, minus 210. That's one thing I've stressed in my breakdown videos in the past, is that you could benefit from a dollar cost average approach where you're buying in at different prices throughout the week. And we cashed on Sergey Spivak against Augusto Sakai. Marlon Vera against Dominic Cruz. I remember that bout, that specific card caused a bit of an uproar on the MMA Twitter timeline, because I posted a tweet that it was just a matter of time until Marlon Vera found his way in that fight. And he did, in dramatic fashion. And we have not seen Dominic Cruz get a fight booked since that bout. Originally, he was supposed to fight Frankie Edgar. Not going to happen there. Then we were on to UFC 278, where we saw Paulo Costa defeat Luke Rockhold. We got in on Paulo Costa at minus 255. We were on Merab Dvalishvili at minus 140 against Jose Aldo. And we continue throughout the entirety of most of my bets have been placed on UFC fights. I'd say north of 90%. So I know some folks dabble in Cage Warriors, Ryzen, PFL, Bellator, etc. Even Contender Series. I try to stay away from Contender Series due to the extreme volatility that we see in that format. But we were on Robert Whittaker against Marvin Vettori at UFC Paris. We were on Nasruddin Imavov against Joaquin Buckley. By the way, Imavov has his hands full against Kelvin Gastelum coming up in the very near future. I'd love to discuss a few bouts that are headed our way in the near future. So let's keep this train rolling as we look through the entirety of my Bet MMA profile between January and December of 2022, where we have Corey Sandhagen defeating Song Yadong. That was a great fight. We got in on Corey Sandhagen at minus 190. How about Andre Fili defeating Bill Algeo? We got in on Andre Fili at minus 120. Also hit the Joe Pyfer Amadovsky under 2.5 at minus 300. Under 1.5 also in that bout at minus 175. And the Gregory Rodriguez Chitty fight doesn't go the distance at minus 225. Let's see. There've been so many fights this year. It's a lot to process. We've put in a lot of work. We've put in a tremendous amount of work, and I'm really looking forward to getting things kicked off in 2023. I'd say one of the a spot where I could have gone a little bit deeper, the Mario Bautista versus Benito Lopez spot, minus 225 we got in, and also minus 275. That was a spot where we were 3.5 units deep. Let's see what else we got here. How about Dan Hooker versus Claudio Puelles. That was a spot where we could have gone a little bit deeper. The UFC 281 card, we took a loss. With Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. That was a phenomenal fight. I'll be interested to see where that middleweight division ends up at the end of 2023. So many fights to look forward to. Now, the November 19th card, Jack Della Maddalena. Big fan of Jack Della Maddalena. We cashed on him winning inside the distance at minus 200. Also the under 2.5 at minus 245, as well as we had the Della Maddalena and a fight doesn't go the distance or under 4.5 in the Lewis Spivak fight, but that one never came to fruition. I believe Derek Lewis had an injury sustained in that fight. Then we get closer to the end of 2022 where there were some lessons learned here. One lesson, man, you cannot trust Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland had the fight on the mat against Stephen Thompson and was not interested in playing down there at all, even though he had a tremendous advantage in that spot. Very, very disappointing. I mean, you talk about wanting to have a winning career, have a winning record. That honestly looks like it means nothing to Kevin Holland at this stage in his career. He's willing to fight for his pride. It seemed like they had a gentleman's agreement between Kevin Holland and Stephen Thompson in that matchup. That was one of the largest losses of my 2022. By the way, I've stated this many different times that you want to, even on your worst day, give your bankroll a chance to live another day. So remember, you have 100 units. You always have 100 units at any given time. And you want to make sure that you're taking care of those units. So it is a cautionary tale. Make sure that you're taking care of those 100 units in your bankroll because they matter. Remember that, my brothers. Let's see what else we got here. So as we close out 2022, we have the Magomed Ankalaev, Jan Blachowicz draw. We were on Duplessis defeating Darren Hill at minus 120. Let's see. The Shabazian wins inside the distance at minus 110. And then the last fight card of the year, where we turned out just a very small profit, but Said Nurmagomedov defeating Kakhramonov at plus 100. That was a spot where I think people were really underestimating the submission game of Said Nurmagomedov. It didn't matter if Kakhramonov was winning the majority of the fight. It only takes one mistake for Said Nurmagomedov to capitalize on that, and he did. We also saw Arman Tsarukyan defeat Damir Ismagulov. We got in on Arman Tsarukyan at minus 190. It was a solid year. Now we had ended at plus 33.5 units. And remember, 1 unit is 1% of your bankroll. So take that into consideration. I never want to play anything more than 5 units. And also, you must realize there's no such thing as a 10 unit or an 11 unit play. You never want to risk 10% of your bankroll or 11% of your bankroll, 1 to 2 units, 3 units. Those are plays that are typically made. In rare circumstances, you'll have a 5-unit play. For me, Brandon Royval taking on Matt Schnell, that was one of them. But it's something that you really need to take a measured approach every time out. Now we are up over 100 units, 113 units of profit. Been at this a number of years and continue to grow every time out, one fight at a time. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today and taking a walk on the wild side as we scrolled through 2022, the year in review with Mike's MMA picks. So cheers to you as we waltz into 2023 with our best foot forward, looking to continue to tap into the research and pick our spots. Remember, my friends, go get what's yours and have a phenomenal New Year's Eve and rest of your 2022, because the clock strikes midnight very soon. Take care.